Hey,
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Humor, Grief, and Grace with Jill and I. How y'all doing after? I hope you're not hungover. That's my first concern. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
All the hydrate.
All the hydrates. Please hydrate. Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. My liver doesn't let me drink, and it says, "Hey, you better not even have that." So, I I read somewhere that having I can't eat the peas, the black-eyed peas. Did you have black-eyed peas?
We're having them this morning.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hi there. I'm glad you're there. Did you hydrate last night and this morning? Nope. I love this guy. He's his camp buddy, and we've been. He's just such a good man. I can't praise him enough. Sensitive and wonderful, and uh, yeah, I had pork because I heard. Oh, see, he knows alcohol will shut down my shields, and he tries to stay open for all his clients and
Nice.
his friends and his people around him. Um,
So you had pork last night?
I said, let's get barbecue. I'll have ribs. Daryl said, I'll have brisket. He really likes their brisket, and I love ribs. I'm a pork eating Jew. What can I say?
I know lots of them.
Yes.
We
You
had,
know,
we had a good old pizza, but we have black-eyed peas we made last night, so we're going to have those today with cornbread biscuits floating in them. And then I'm going to
oh,
make some split pea soup this afternoon.
very nice. So you've like hit those things. Like the reason why pork is supposed to be good because a pig roots forward, and for our listening audiences, it looks like this. Oh my goodness. I wanted to bring up because one, I have a huge crush on Anderson Cooper. I totally admit it. CNN. I like to fall asleep to the sound of his voice. And Andy Cohen is him and Andy Cohen were the. Did you watch last night? They do the.
We
Yeah,
watched it the whole time, and I loved his thing he did about losing his dad.
exactly. Exactly. And it came right about when him and Stephen Colbert were talking because I think Anderson Cooper, my opinion, sort of really uh, connects with the losses that Stephen Colbert, yes, Anderson is hot, and for
And his
some,
baby's cute.
oh my God, baby, I love his baby. So he connects with the loss that Stephen Colbert had. I don't know if you know that story. Stephen Colbert's father was a airline, not an airline pilot, but a pilot. And I think him and Stephen Colbert's brother died in a plane crash when Stephen was 10.
I had no
And,
idea.
and they talked about it one time. I'll try to find the interview because they expressed grief and they get it because they've processed some and they're still processing some. So maybe you could tell the least listening audience what uh, Anderson Cooper said last night about losing his dad and how New Year's Eve makes him feel. Do you remember?
I do, actually, and I was sober at the time. We had a little champagne, not a lot. But what he talked about was how his dad was dying when he was about 10 at New Year's, and he was
Mm-hmm.
at the hospital, and he was terrified. That was the word
Mm-hmm.
he used because he didn't know what the new year was going to hold.
Mm-hmm.
And he reached out to everybody who was in the middle of losing people
Mm-hmm.
last night and people who've lost people this last year and really tried to connect with them and say, we get it. And I remember what that was like. And it is really hard to be grieving at the new year and to not be sure about what's coming because you maybe weren't even expecting this to be happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know, I think what triggered it was when Stephen Colbert came on and they started talking, and just the way, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but it was like the way Anderson was saying, what can you say to people who are grieving right now? And he was like looking and listening, and it was just, I love that they did that on national TV, because we forget to, what's the word, to think about those people. And right after he said that, I actually went online and picked a photograph of shadows so that I could, yeah.
Yeah, the week between Christmas and New Year's, when I'm working with grief clients or people who aren't identified grief clients, but have clearly all of us have had losses, I try to help them mitigate watching too many of the shows that are about all the important people who died, because really who's important is that it was your brother or your sister or your mom or your spouse or your child or your oodle. That's who you want. That's who your screen is about loss for that year. And there's a sense of fear and sometimes dread and terror and obligation all mixed up that comes from people saying, oh, well, it's a new year. That's in the past. And first, grieving people don't want to feel like they've left their loved ones behind in the last year. As much as we didn't enjoy 2020, most of us, in many ways, those of us who lost people in that year, those people still come with us. It's not like, okay, we closed the door, it's midnight and 1 minute, and now that's not there anymore, and they're not here anymore, and we don't need to talk about that loss anymore. And their lives are not less important than the tragedy on the mountain with the helicopter for the entire Lakers family with Kobe Bryant, and they're not less important than anybody else. Right?
My neighbor, whose husband died in July, she wrote, I can't imagine this year without my husband. And no, you can't. All you can do is go through it every single day. The imagining, like Anderson Cooper, I think he was eight or something like that. And he said he laid on the floor next to his dad's bed. His dad died 5 days later.
Right.
It was a heart attack. And like you said, he was terrified. And looking at him and seeing how that translates into an adult life, he said, that's why I like to work on New Year's, because I still have a bit of that terrified feeling. Translation, he feels comfortable working and avoiding, he used a different word, but I'm going to use fake frivolity.
He said those words exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a certain forced. It's forced. It doesn't feel as meaningful to him. And as I look back in my nursing career, I always wanted to work on the holidays, because my mom had, I'm without parents since I was 41 maybe. So what's that? 24 years already. And I worked so that I didn't have to be involved in the stress of making frivolity. Does that make sense?
Pretending that all is happy when you are an adult orphan, or you have a loss tied up in the holiday season. You sometimes need that break where you just get to feel the feels or not feel the feels and hide in the blanket
Mhm.
fort, but not be
Mhm.
part of, the crowd and the champagne and the this and the that. And it's just too hard.
Mhm. Tina, another friend of mine, says exactly those people come with us, stay with us, and get through the day and stay active instead of fake
Fake
frivolity.
frivolity.
Thanks, Tina. Tina has an amazing story. I'll let her tell it sometime. But she knows. She
Mhm.
genuinely knows the difference.
Yeah.
It's and it's not just losses of someone who died. It's losses due to cancer, your job, income, uh, COVID. Like many of our listening audience might have COVID and they're
Hmm.
just tuning in or they're hearing about it. And that can be pretty darn scary and miserable. And
Yeah. Yes, it can.
and and what about our pets? I mean, when we started the broadcast, there was Adele,
Right.
and and
And now there's Fred, who's
and
terrified because of all the fake frivolity last night and the fireworks.
I was in
Right.
bed and I heard, I'm like, something going on in the house because we were asleep by midnight here. Once you see Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen,
It's all
you
done.
don't need any. It's done. So I was listening and I heard fireworks somewhere around here. Yeah. You were saying about uh well, I didn't leave enough breadcrumbs to find my way home to that statement.
It is New Year's is laden with all kinds of stuff and expectations, and this year we have to be cautious because, okay, this year on the plus side, we know about COVID. It's not going to come up and catch us
That's
like
right.
it did in the previous year.
Right.
But we didn't wake up to COVID disappearing this morning, and we didn't wake up to people not dying in mass numbers this morning, and other people who were re-experiencing deaths because of all of the news media and all the stuff. Yeah,
Hmm.
and we are without Adele this year. This is our first full year without the Delsky.
Hmm.
Or Gracie.
Or Gracie.
And we
Hmm.
started 2020 literally on New Year's Day, with the loss of my extra daughter's mom,
Oh,
Donna.
that's right.
So this was I spent part of last night kind of checking in, making sure if she needed something, I was available.
Hmm.
She checked out and went to her blanket fort instead.
You know, I like blanket forts.
Yes.
I like them. However, you need to escape. So I know Jill and I are saying to our listening audience, you need to escape. Do so safely. Do so
Right.
safely. That's what I say.
And make sure you come back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Eventually, take some time out,
Hmm.
then go outside. We have glorious sun this morning. I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but it
Hmm.
is sunny outside.
I don't know where it is by Mark. He lives a couple hours, 2.5 hours away from me. Here it rained and now there's ice. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Mark, I'm so sorry. I remember seeing this online. Mark said he lost
Ah,
14-year-old Miss Kitty O.
I'm
Mhm,
so sorry, Mark. That Rainbow Bridge was busy this year, way busier than it was supposed to be.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
stuck in freezing rain.
yeah, that's what we had. Daryl Daryl had to get a haircut at 8. And he said, "Oh, it was a little slick coming home," and he's only going a half a mile away. So,
We
yeah,
had super high winds last night, and then we had fireworks that were percussing the windows, and it's still cold and windy out, but it's sunny.
that's
So
great. That's
if
great.
you are going to your blanket fort, come out and put your head outside even for a minute and get some fresh air. Regardless of whether you are in snow and sleet and rain like Deb or out in the sun in California like we are, get
Mhm.
some fresh air and fresh oxygen.
Mhm. Mhm. My other recommendation is when you come out, if you need to do some self-care things, have some warm liquids. Not necessarily a hot toddy with whiskey or Irish whiskey. That's coffee and whiskey. Don't ask me how I know all these things. But
Hot tea works.
hot tea, some regular coffee, honey and lemon, however you need to
Chocolate
nourish. Oh, hot chocolate?
with whipped cream.
Yes. Yeah. After seeing Anderson Cooper, I hope he's hydrating with tea.
Mm-hmm.
And last night because
He was doing shots.
and this man does not do that.
No.
No. And he does it just that one time a year. And if he hydrates, he'll be ready for next year. Thanks, Anne. Strength is what we gain from the madness we survive. Resilience, strength. Thanks, Anne. Anne's another friend of mine. I met her in Gibson City. And, Anne's had her share of losses too. I love how everybody here is really speaking from experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
bringing their losses into share, which is how we get through losses in general and holidays in particular.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And helping sort of when you're feeling down, like as in down a ladder or something, what Jill and I aim for, and I hope our listening audience, that when you can sort of identify or see that with others, reach a hand down, a metaphorical hand if you can, like a note, if you can't shake, a note, a phone call. However, reach a hand and go, I'm thinking of you.
Right. Some kind of nurture for their soul and their body.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, Jill, but sometimes I even get overwhelmed with all the people that have had losses. Like I even have to back off from different grief groups, me as a grief person. But what I can do, and maybe this sounds frivolous, but it's not, just for a moment, I can go, I wish them a moment of peace, or peace to all those hurting hearts. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely just sort of do a blanket prayer for people. Last night I did a prayer of protection, which I learned from the poet and Unity people, James Philip Freeman. And I also imagined sending light out and joining with other people around the world that are also holding light while others are going around in darkness or feeling darkness or feeling or not feeling at all.
I tend to check back in and do a little bit of a benediction for everybody that I know is hurting or is in the process of experiencing loss, and wish them that peace. Because there's, at some point after a loss, we all get to a point of peace with it. And I try to send out a little bit of a, this is coming. I know this really sucks right now, but that moment will come, little bits at a time.
Little bits at a time. I think I see this a lot. It's like, I don't know what people are expecting after they've had a huge loss, but it's almost like they think it'll go from bumpy to peace.
No, the roadmap is a way different experience. And when you hit the bump, if you take that moment out, you go, what was that? What did I not finish over there that I need to get done with so that I don't do that bump again?
Or let me just interrupt. The people say, why do I have to keep doing this? Go ahead.
It happens. You keep having the bumps because there's stuff left in that relationship. There's whatever it is, whether it's regrets or thank yous you didn't get to say, or goodbyes you didn't get to finish, especially with COVID right now. And you finish those bits, but then you also, there's a point of, there's always going to be something that jogs a memory. So even when you're done with the grief, you're always going to have a moment where something hits. And the first few years, it'll hit harder. And other years, it'll just meld into, I'm so glad we had those moments. And that's where that piece comes in. But you're never going to be 100% not missing someone who was important to you.
Exactly. If for comfort, sometimes it helps to, whether they're your pet, because I like to say fur babies, but some people have snakes and chameleons and birds, so they're not furry. But
No.
one of the things I have found is, what is a memory that puts a smile on your face or gives you a giggle? And, my dad died when I was 14. And one of the things that always put a giggle on my face about my dad is he played harmonica and guitar badly, very badly. But I remember seeing him try and play out Red River Valley or something. And, that makes me feel, just for a moment, a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is when I was really glad my dad did not treat me like a girl. I mean, I was using power tools when I'm 8, right?
Nice.
I was. And so when I remember I was like 5 and we had just moved to the house, and I got to help him nail up the picket fence in the back and paint it white. And I have that memory. I also have the memory of one of our cats. We called, his name was Runt, because he was the runt of the litter, but he was a big bubba of a cat. And we used to use him, we called him Gumby Cat, because you could put him in any position and he would stay there, and I would use him as a pillow.
Oh.
I know. Think of, so when self-care is also bringing up those memories for a moment, not forever, but for a moment, to bring a smile and start, I am saying, genuine biochemistry that happens when you're smiling, mirth-filled laughter. So, yeah.
It's nice to have those moments and those ways that we can bring them back in and remember the good and not necessarily focus on the sad.
So when I first met Adele, I know you always, and you dressed her up.
Of course.
Of course. Tell me one of your memories of Adele, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh my gosh, so many memories. Adele was the oodle that also went to work with us. And she was a rescue and had been locked in a cage her entire life until we got her as a breeder. So her legs were actually, her elbows and knees were fused in the open position. She could never bend her legs. And she smiled all the time. Everybody who remembers her talks about that Adele smile. But when she ran, because she could not bend her knees or elbows, she bounced. And people at the office, kids and parents at the office, there are dozens of videos of Adele posted around the internet because she was so cute. So kids would actually grab snacks from our snack basket when we had an open office, and they would go to the end of the hallway and show Adele, because she loved Cheez-Its. She knew the sound of a Cheez-It wrapper. Even when she was asleep, she could hear the Cheez-Its being picked up, and she would get up and run for them. And so the kids would hold the Cheez-Its out, and she'd hoppity, 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 hop. And they would do that just to make videos of her. So yeah,
Oh,
she was all about this. She was also scared of our Roomba because it trapped her sometimes. It would go off while I was in session and she was out wandering around, and I'd find her trapped under a table. She did not like the Roomba. She was not the one riding the Roomba like some of those other very brave dogs. And she could eat cake off of forks. Yeah, she was a multi-skilled little oodle doodle. Yeah.
you know, so this was a twofer, right? Because I could see how you were smiling and sort of bubbling up as
That's
you
my
were
dad.
going. Yeah. And now I am smiling at the
It's kind of a picture, isn't it?
That's hilarious. I mean, sad how it happened, but it's still pretty funny. And
Yeah.
it's cute. I'm cute. And I think I'm grateful for memories and to share memories with people of whatever. I something I've sort of been processing. I haven't actually done, but I have some friendships that still need some healing inside of me. So I've decided what are some of the great memories that I can take with me, even though that friendship isn't here anymore? What can I take with me and integrate? What do I want to remember about that person?
Those are important things to do. And I think lots of people don't recognize that when a friendship either ends or morphs into being a circle far on the outside as opposed to an intimate friend, those are griefs that need to be addressed and recognized. And part of that is taking the good and releasing what you can of what was hurtful. And putting it in perspective and looking to see where else in your circle people have moved in, recognizing that that spot's there and available now.
Yeah. Certainly a lot of good self-care that we talked about even for today as we move forward into this new year. And, let's high five ourselves, Jill. We've done this for what, 6 months?
We have.
Yeah.
Of course, when we started, we were sort of thinking, we're going to help people get through this. I certainly didn't foresee where we'd be on January 1st.
Right.
In terms of this virus.
Right. It was close to 150,000, I think, back then. Right. I don't know what it is now, but
we're closing in on 350,000.
Yeah.
We're losing someone every 4 minutes in California at this point.
Yeah. And, maybe for some of you out there, I know I have them. I take it personally enough when people don't mask up and they don't value the importance of safety. And some of those people are my friends and some no longer are.
Yeah.
Because, who wants to be around someone that they keep saying, this is a conspiracy theory, this is this is this,
I have a right not to wear a mask. It's not about rights. It's about showing caring and love and concern for even people you don't like.
For your community.
Your community counts.
And I totally get some people genuinely, because of breathing issues, cannot. I have a friend who's a very severe asthmatic, and it's painful for her to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And when we did see each other after a while, she was 6-something feet away. I wore my mask. And there was no condemnation. I said, I get it for you. Take your mask off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there are so many who are, I'm now asthmatic as a result of COVID, much more severely than I ever have been. I'm not in the stage where your friend is. I can wear a mask comfortably. I have to work a little harder to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my voice is gone too because of all the steroids. It's done damage to my vocal cords.
Right.
But to just callously walk around and, pull the mask, to pretend you're wearing a mask and then pull it down. Now, this is where having a cane comes in handy because I can put it behind me and back somebody up.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Makes me a little less steady on the front, but I can keep them away from me on the back.
That's right. Right.
Because it's not nice. And I don't have the time of day for getting even into those discussions anymore.
Right.
But if you're not going to share those values, you just don't fit.
Right. That's something that's important to me. And I think 2020, that gave people a chance, an opportunity. What do I value is the question. I value community. I don't have to like everybody in my community, but out of love and respect, I will wear this.
Right. And I think that's what we need to take with us into this next year. Would you settle down? I know you want to be seen. Yeah. Fred has no problem with needing to make his needs known. Do you love that?
Oh, I love that. Oh.
He would not be able to wear a mask.
No. Anything else our listening audience wants to say to us or ask a question? We'll give them a second.
And just so that you know, we can only see comments really well if you're on the actual Grief and Grace Facebook page itself.
Right.
That's how I'm able to pick up on Mark and Ann and Tina. If you have comments on other pages, we will pick up on them and comment on them after the broadcast.
Right. I usually share, so this is always here as many of our other ones. Our other page, I don't understand. It still gets likes and all those things, and there's nothing we can do about it. No.
Yeah. No. Mark says that he loves you.
Oh, love you too, Mark.
Thank you for being here. Mark. Yeah. So we'll have this will be up, and then we'll be back next week. And we're going to have Deb and I are working behind the scenes to bring in a few more guests. If there's someone you know that you think would make a great guest on this, please send them our way or send us a heads up. We'll be happy to include them.
That'd be great.
We can do that. We'll have an Ask a Funeral Director probably by the end of the month. And let's see how we can take on this first year of 2021. First week, let's make it good.
Let's do self-care, honor our grief, and look out for each other.
And snuggle your oodles if you've got them.
I'll snuggle yours.
Okay. All right, everybody. We'll see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye-bye.